Welcome back, everybody. My name is Nick930, and I managed to get into the closed beta for Ghost Recon Wildlands this past weekend, and I have a few first impressions to share with you all before the game launches next month. So let's start by talking about the game's campaign and overall design. Ghost Recon has an interesting take on mission structure in that it's more open-ended than past games. In fact, the structure feels a lot like how Mafia 3 worked last year in that you need to go through and do a ton of side missions within a single district just to get access to a single underboss. After doing this about 3 times within one district, you eventually get access to a main boss, and then you cleared out that entire area and had to do this 20 more times to 20 more districts. So that was kind of Mafia 3's biggest flaw in how repetitive that eventually became, but I think it might work in Ghost Recon's favor being that it's a co-op game. The missions for the most part seem pretty straightforward with lots of opportunity to improvise and accomplish the missions at your own pace and with your own style. So if you're a fan of stealth, for example, you'll be able to scout targets from a mile away, sneak into the compound, and accomplish your objective without ever touching an enemy patrol. If you're a fan of all-out combat, however, you can drive straight into the objective with your fellow ghosts hanging out of the windows and open fire on everything that moves. The game features a ton of side activities which basically boil down to sneaking into small villages or outposts and marking collectibles for pickup by the rebels. Doing so will reward you resources that you'll need to unlock new abilities like thermal vision or parachutes. This is a clever way to add more progression to the game, and it seems to borrow a lot of the crafting elements from the Far Cry series, in that you need to focus on gaining different types of supplies if you want a specific upgrade. You're also given a very limited amount of weapons when you first start the game. You only have access to an assault rifle with no attachments, a pistol, and an SMG. To unlock new attachments and weapons, you'll need to find them in the world inside specially marked weapon pickup boxes. This is a good idea to keep players exploring the vast world of Wildlands, but it does seem a bit tedious to have to infiltrate a massive compound that's completely out of the way of the main storyline just to get a red dot sight for your sniper rifle. I would have preferred the ability to earn credits in-game and then spend those credits on whatever weapons or attachments I wanted to use, but I guess that's what we're stuck with for now. Players can also customize their appearance with a ton of realistic-looking outfits that thankfully don't ruin the mood of the game. Though I'm sure there will be plenty of horsehead masks hiding in caves or some kind of DLC that adds golden pants in the future. The outfits, for now, don't appear to have any effect on gameplay, so feel free to dress however you like because it doesn't matter. If you're wearing a ghillie suit, you'll be detected just as much as a guy wearing jeans and a t-shirt. That being said, let's talk about the game's artificial intelligence. The enemy AI works pretty much exactly how you'd expect. If they see you for too long, they eventually detect you and they start opening fire. Then every guard in the village starts opening fire on you. One thing I did notice, though, is that the game's friendly AI will screw you over if you choose to be a stealthy player in single player. I had several instances where I was sneaking into a base carefully and my friendly ghost just walked up and were detected by a nearby guard, causing the entire base to erupt in combat. This game is simply much more fun to play cooperatively online with your friends. If you only have one friend available, it'll drop out the other 2 AI ghosts and you can play the game with just the 2 of you and no risk of being detected because of crappy AI. I do wish the game offered the ability to play entirely lone wolf with no friendly ghosts or players with you if you preferred to play it that way. The difficulty. Another gripe I had with the game was the difficulty. There's 4 difficulty modes, with the most difficult mode called Ghosts, which Ubisoft assured us would mean that one shot from an enemy and you would be dead. This, however, is not the case. We played on Ghost difficulty the entire night, and never once was I shot once and killed. You can get shot about 3 times or so before going down, and then you're actually given the opportunity to get revived by a friendly teammate. I also did not like how little options you have for stealth. You can absolutely achieve your objectives from any angle and sneak in with a silenced pistol, but you can't take down enemies from around the corner with a melee attack. You can't pick up and hide enemy bodies unless you previously grabbed them and carried them away before knocking them out. You can't actually knock people out. If you use the knockout ability, it actually just kills the guard, so there's no way to do this non-lethally. You can eventually unlock a diversionary grenade, which can alert enemies if they're within the detonation range, but this just seems like an unnecessary and awkward tool to use. The stealth mechanics seem severely lacking for a game based almost completely around stealth, especially considering it's made by the studio that brought us the Splinter Cell franchise. The game's multiplayer seemed very solid, with simple drop-in multiplayer that gave everyone an opportunity to play missions that they wanted. If a player joined late, for example, and wanted to start from the beginning with the story missions, they could simply place a marker on the objective on their map, and the rest of the squad would be asked if they'd like to replay that mission. There's several vehicles in the game, and you have access to pretty much anything that looks like you can drive it. So you can drive a tractor, a car, motorcycle, planes, helicopters, pretty much anything you can get your hands on you can drive in this game. And they all control pretty much as you'd expect. They're not as tight as Grand Theft Auto, but they do seem to work pretty well. It's better than Watch Dogs 1, for example. So I didn't really have very many complaints about this. I think the motorcycles spin out a little bit too much when you're going uphill, though. The map of Wildlands is absolutely massive. The beta only gave me access to a single province in the world, which likely will be the starting point of the game. The outposts and compounds in this area range from being incredibly easy to moderately difficult, with snipers, heavy gunners, turrets, and vehicles all mixed in to help add an extra layer of difficulty. I imagine when you start traveling to areas like the Salt Flats in the northwest, you'll start running into more difficult enemies and much less cover to hide behind. And finally, let's talk about the biggest problem with this game, the game's performance. And yes, it is bad. It is just as bad as everyone's complaining about. The game is no doubt a console port. From the odd default mouse sensitivity to the contextual button prompts that pop up whenever you sneak up to knock out a guard, this game is designed with consoles in mind, and PC was absolutely an afterthought. And like most afterthought PC versions of games, the performance suffers significantly. The game's graphics, they look pretty decent. But to run them at a smooth frame rate, you'll need a computer from the future, because right now I could barely manage to get a stable 60 FPS at 1080p. Just for reference, I am using a GTX 980 Ti, an i7 6700K processor, and 16GB of RAM, and was getting average frame rates in the mid-40s throughout my playtime. I looked online, and people who are using the 1070s and 1080s are having just pretty much the exact same issues, so no, it is not the 980 Ti for those of you who think that's an old card. I did find that disabling vertical sync improved frame rates for myself and my friends who played with me, but I encountered quite a bit of screen tearing with this feature disabled. I've had this issue in the past with select games like Assassin's Creed Black Flag, where the game's vertical sync option did not allow for triple buffering, resulting in dips to the 30 FPS range every time the FPS dropped below 60. So this might be the exact same situation. That issue was never fixed in Assassin's Creed Black Flag, so it's definitely something to be concerned about if you plan on getting this game on PC. So yeah, those are just a few of my thoughts about this game. The beta is only a month off from the game's final release, so I'm a bit concerned about the game's current state. A lot of users will tell you that it's a beta, the final release will be better. But I've played enough games now to know that betas are more often than not just testing server stability and not necessarily there to test the game optimization. Optimization like that needs to be done with the engine initially. With only a month left, Ubisoft would need to remove tons of assets from the game world just to get the game to run smoothly, then send the game in for approval, have it printed onto millions of discs for all platforms, get those discs approved by companies like Sony and Microsoft, and it's just this huge process that I cannot imagine them being able to pull off with such a short deadline. If the game's performance is going to be fixed, it won't be for several months. I can deal with poor performance for now because the game is a lot of fun. I did enjoy my time playing online with my friends. But for those of you who are interested in this game for the single player experience on PC, I highly recommend giving this game a temporary pass. Just keep a close eye on the Steam discussions for this game and see if these major issues are fixed before pre-ordering. And that's all I really have to say about this game. I hope this video was helpful. Be sure to like and subscribe if you'd like to see more from my channel, and I will see you all next time.